What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Slapface, a brand new Shudder original. Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to our content, we create content like what you're watching right now just to educate and engage individuals like yourselves on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I have the privilege of being a writer, podcaster, and events coordinator. If you guys would like more information about what we do as a nonprofit, our podcasts, social media, Patreon, and most importantly, our mental health resource library, along with more reviews like what you're watching right now, simply click the links in the descriptions below. Slapface tells the story of two brothers who unexpectedly lose their parents and forces older brother to watch younger brother. Younger brother is a bit of a loner and befriends a mystical creature which kind of wreaks havoc and kind of puts a tornado essentially through the lives of these two brothers. I feel like ever since the success of things like Stranger Things and the It duology, Hollywood and really cinema in general has kind of been pushing the envelope for these like 80s styled revival horror where kids are the protagonists. But to even last year with one of the most celebrated horror movies in all of the years called The Boy Behind the Door, and the reason why it got praised so much was because of its child performers. I'll be honest, when it comes to child actors, I feel like child actors almost have to work twice as hard to make an impact on me as a viewer. I don't know if that just comes from the fact that I can sometimes get annoyed by kids, or the fact that like I'm just so ingrained into watching adult actors that like just disappear into these roles that sometimes kids have a harder tendency to kind of disappear into their roles the way that adults do. At this point, who knows? Maybe I'm just making excuses. But at the center of this story is a young child actor who I believe this is actually his like big screen like feature film debut. You know, Slapface is also based on a short film of the same name with the same characters. I'm assuming, I haven't seen the short, but it also happens to star this young actor. His name is August Maturo. And again, if you guys follow us for any length of time, you know that I'm pretty notorious about mispronouncing names. And if I did mispronounce that, my apologies, because I'm probably going to mispronounce it the remainder of this video. That said, Maturo is the emotional foundation of this movie. This movie doesn't work without his performance. Like, I think one of the things that is just really just mind-boggling about this is just the performance that Maturo gives. I'd probably say that Maturo is probably no older than like 14 or 15. So if you're in the generation like I was in, you know that like you probably were raised around actors like Frankie Muniz, Amanda Bynes, people like that really aimed to like make an impact. And when you go from doing something like Malcolm in the Middle to like Agent Cody Banks, you can kind of see the range of that actor. And I feel like Maturo, like you can definitely see he has a lot of range within this. Some parts of this narrative you have to just be completely transformative as an actor for the audience really to connect to you emotionally, and Maturo doesn't bat an eye. Like, he just slides right into this character, and that's really impressive to say the least. Manning plays his older brother Tom, and Tom is kind of like thrust into this role. And what I like so much about his performance in this is that it feels natural. Like, he cares for his younger brother Lucas, played by Maturo, but also at the same time, like, he just has kind of had his entire young adult life slip from him, and he's grappling with that tightrope of wanting to be a responsible older brother, but also at the same time also to wanting to experience a lot of his youth that he still has left. I love that tightrope balance that his character walks throughout the course of this movie, because he just plays it so freaking well. That said, the performances in this movie are really what make it worth checking out. I'll talk about the horror in just a few minutes, but the pacing of this movie and the acting is just impeccable. This film really works as a drama. I couldn't actually recommend it as a horror film. It doesn't quite hit the way that it needs to. I'll talk about this a little bit more in a few minutes in our mental health moment. This movie very much is aimed at being a anti-bullying PSA almost, and I really appreciate that. I really respect that about this movie. But the mixture of this being a drama with a horror doesn't always kind of work. It kind of feels sloppy in its delivery. A large portion of why I feel this way is because I feel like a lot of the horror elements of this, the mythological ones with the creature, doesn't come till so late in the movie. I'm already invested into these characters without this creature. Like, if you took this creature out of it, like, yes, the ending would slightly be different, but these characters, I'm still invested enough as to like want to check these characters out and want to go out and see this journey of two brothers. And that's honestly really disappointing for me as a horror fan, because the character design of the monster in this movie is incredible. Touch of like folk horror mixed with kind of like that boogeyman but it also has that old-timey feel to it. Like, the filmmakers did that really well. Like, they built up a great lore behind this character, but the character's involvement into the narrative just kind of feels like it's taking away the story of from these two brothers. I don't know, for me, it just, the horror of this movie, it just kind of felt off tone with the rest of the story. Perhaps it's just because the story, the elements of that storytelling kind of feel like they come a little bit too late in the game. That said, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to go ahead and land this one at a 3.5 out of 5. You guys can stream this right now on Shudder. But now on to our mental health moments. If you guys are new to our content, a mental health moment is where we take a piece of mental health from the film we are reviewing and expand upon it for just a few moments at the end of our videos to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. Also, I'm really excited to talk about this one's mental health moment, because this movie, given where it ends, really means a lot to me. The movie, as I said just a few moments ago, is a anti-bullying PSA. For the story, we follow Lucas, who is played by Maturo. Not only does he have these family issues going on where he's just recently lost his parents, his older brother kind of wants, is kind of on the fence about where he wants to be as far as, being in his life as, the brother, but also the parent figure. That in with the fact that he's also bullied at school, and the character might have some other things that one could read into as far as going through puberty and the changes that come with it. He befriends this mythical creature, and in that mythical creature, he kind of uses it as an escape to kind of fight back against the bullying instead of saying something a little bit more about it. Gotta leave it at that, but I wanted to say that sometimes instead of, actually saying something and speaking out against bullying, we have this tendency to go towards darker vices. In the end, those dark vices, what they end up doing is they end up being worse for our mental health, on top of the bullying that we're already experiencing. To question things like our self-value, our self-worth, and really if we're even good enough to be people. Perhaps the most heartbreaking thing about Lucas's journey throughout the course of this film is that his escape from the bullying and from the depression that life is just kind of pressing down on him takes him to some really dark places. And that's the thing about escape, is that escape can be promising at first, but sometimes it takes us to really dark places that are actually more toxic for us than they are for safe. Not only do I want to advocate what this film advocates of speaking out against bullying, but also at the same time to advocate for you guys to also be smart when you're picking your escapes. And I would even dare you to have someone hold you accountable in terms of the escape, so it doesn't become that escape doesn't become an addiction or something that can seriously mess you up even further. Much like the end of this movie promises, if you or someone you know is watching this right now and you're struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, please consider our mental health resource library. The links are in the descriptions below. You can call the suicide hotline at 1-800-273-8255, or you can text HELP to 741-741, or that link will get you guys so many more, and we're constantly adding to that. Thank you guys for watching this, and check out Slapface. It's now streaming on Shudder, and be sure to hit that subscribe button below. Have a good night, guys.